I know for myself, success changed so much, kind of just like the definition of it specifically changed so much from the time that I was in high school all the way up until the time I graduated college, going from, hey, I want to be this, big time athlete with all the recognition, all the, all the accolades, whatever. And then as I started to get into college and, kind of go away from it, it was like, well, how can I be the best teammate possible? How can I keep being friends with all these teammates to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, I'm putting my best foot forward? Ultimately, for you, what does that definition of success look like, and how has it changed for you over those years?
It did change a lot, like you talked about. I think the hardest transition I had was once I finally got there. I was like Division 1 scholarship athlete, finally achieved the big dream I had since I was a little kid. And I think a lot of athletes struggle with that when you finally achieve it and it's like, okay, what's next? And I've seen a lot of athletes that you just go through the motions because you're like, okay, I made it here. I guess I'll just, I go to practice, I do my stuff. But a lot of us don't sit down and now create a new goal, which I think helps to define success a little bit, is goal setting and creating goals for yourself to help really measure what you're trying to go for and achieve. I think looking back for myself, it definitely changed a lot from what I defined as success then and what I look back as success now. I think then it was a lot about, fighting for starting spots and having certain stats and doing all these different things. And I think sometimes because of what I was going through, I thought I was failing a lot. And that was really, really hard on me. It definitely damaged my confidence. But I remember going into my final year after I transferred to Colorado State, and my goal was to enjoy basketball again. That was it. I had lost it and I didn't love it anymore. And I just wanted to go back to a place where I had a lot of family and saw a school that I could enjoy and a team that style of play I could fit in. And I just wanted to go and just enjoy it and have fun like when I was a little kid. And I was able to do that, which was so great. I define that as big success for me. And now looking back at my career as a whole, I do look at as a success, even though it was not what I set out to achieve. But I see it as someone who made it through. And sometimes some people can say that that's not enough, but I survived through a lot of things and have now healed from it. And so I'm so grateful for that. And I define that as a big success, at least for myself. But as you said, I know that looks different for everyone else and you have to define it for yourself. But that's how I defined it for me.
To your point, I swear that has been one of the biggest things that has kind of been the talking point of a lot of my conversations, probably the past month and a half, as far as, hey, just enjoy it again, right? Like everybody gets so built up with, all these goals, all this pressure put on them, whatever it is. And it almost starts making them feel like they're at like a full-time job. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of, oh, I'm actually playing the sport that I love, because they were like, oh, when I was 8, 9, 10, I was super excited about going to practice or going to, hang out with my friends and go to the game, whatever it was. But then it's like, oh, they're a sophomore now. And it's like, oh, great. I got to go to, the workout. I got to go to practice. And it's like, instead of being like, hey, I got a smile on my face, it's like, ugh, like one of those things that like I have to like check off my to-do list today. So yeah, no, to that point, I think it's great, right? Like I think if you can flip the mindset as far as, hey, get out of that, enjoy it, really have fun, that's where you start to really just fall in love with the game all over again. But I know I quickly talked a little bit about kind of like that pressure, right? And any sport, there's going to be a ton of different pressure, but especially within collegiate athletics, whether it's, hey, you have to maintain XYZ GPA, you have to make sure you go to all your classes, you have to also perform well in practice as well as in games, and you also want to be in that starting position. How are you able to kind of manage those high pressure situations, and where, like, I guess, what advice would you give to somebody else who's coming up and going to be facing those similar challenges?
Looking back for myself, I was definitely inconsistent when it comes to pressure situations. I'll be completely honest. I'm very thankful that I had a lot of coaches in my past that have trusted me in those moments. And I wasn't always the go-to person, but in the times that I was, I do think that usually I just didn't have the skills to attack that stuff. But in the past, a lot of it was really just trying to hype myself up, and just be like, all right, just do your best, control what you can control, but at least giving advice to those that are still competing, and even those that aren't. I think that we face pressure all the time and these skills are still relevant. And that's exactly what the work that I'm doing now is giving, helping athletes with those mental skills and finding what works for them. I don't think it's a one size fits all, but working on things like your self-talk and your preparation and building up your confidence and learning a lot of those different skills. Yeah, working on, goodness, a lot of your cognitive processes. Sometimes we get a lot of those false beliefs and those distortions in our mind, but yeah, finding those. I know some athletes love rehearsing their victories and remembering the times they have succeeded. And so yeah, definitely would just encourage people reach out to start learning those skills, and to, people like myself, mental performance coaches, or even sports psychologists as well. Those are people that also know those different skills, and it's huge. I think that that's the hard part, is not everybody knows that that's something you can just go out and learn, because they don't talk about it. I had no idea. I thought that everybody, if you're mentally tough, you just step up and that's what you do. And but there's a lot more to it than that. And so I think that, just like how in practice that you were going to practice for those game time situations and you do them over and over, what does it look like when you're down 1 point and there's 15 seconds left? What's the play that you run? And you run it over and over and over till you feel super prepared and it's second nature. It's the same thing with our minds. We have to do that as well and train it just as much. So I would just encourage athletes to do the same thing, train your mind as much as you train your body.
I wish I had done, looking back at my journey, and I wish that there was something in place as far as, just mental skills in general, because now the more I hear about it, I have conversations with individuals like yourself. I'm like, man, like all these new concepts are so new to me, but it's like stuff that I wish I had known and was able to apply,
Okay.
5, 6 years ago when when I was in the midst of that journey and going through all this stuff. And I know for a lot of the conversation, right, we've talked about highs, lows, different stuff like that. But ultimately, as we, start ending the conversation, I always love ending it on kind of some high positive notes, just because who doesn't, right? Anyways, kind of, reflecting on your entire career in basketball. It doesn't have to necessarily be collegiate, could either be, earlier on, doesn't really matter. But, what were one or two of your most favorite moments that you've been able to have as your time as a student athlete?
Oh my goodness. That's another great question. I think that when I reflect back on all the moments that I've loved, most of them in a funny way, yeah, they're not on a basketball court. A lot of them are with my teammates and those fun memories. And some of them are on the court, but I think about getting to go to Costa Rica with my team and getting to play basketball over there, but also having new experiences with them. I remember whitewater rafting with some of my teammates and seeing how most of the team, all of the boats, are tumbling over. Luckily, my boat was the only one that didn't. So, yeah, we did a great job. But things like that are the memories that really stick out for me. And I think that those are the fun times I remember. The memories that, gosh, I'll get emotional thinking about this, but the memories that really, I think, hit a chord for me are when I have family there. I think that's the times that have been really special, getting to share those big moments with them. And yeah, sorry, gosh, it gets really emotional about it, but having them be there and being able to make them proud has been really awesome for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And number one too, those team bonding moments are always so fun, because it's like a lot of times you get caught up in the just the grind of, we have practice X days a week, and now
Yeah,
we have games on top of it, and it's just super chaotic schedule. But the one occurrence, what seems like once a year almost, that we get to basically be free from all of that and just go have fun for a couple of hours. It seems like the best thing ever. And it always is too. But back to your last point there about family, like that, like trust me, like that's one of those things too where I get it firsthand. Like when I went down to, my second school, my family wasn't always able to, when I was up in Michigan, they were able to see every single game, and they were there for all that type of stuff. But when, I went down to Georgia, it was like, hey, like we're far away, man. Like we don't live there. We can't go be there in person. So it made every single game that they were able to see in person that much more special. And it was one of those things where I'm glad I was old enough to recognize that and kind of be more appreciative of it. Cause back when I was in high school, I probably would have been like, who cares? Like they're just here, kind of take it for granted type of thing. So last little piece, I know you already gave some great advice, a little bit back, but is there kind of one final piece of advice, or even, one word of wisdom that you would like to share with, any other student athletes that might be tuning in today?
absolutely. I think the biggest thing I wish I could have told myself and that I would share with other athletes is do not be afraid to ask for help. That's, I think, the biggest thing. Just because as athletes, we're taught to tough it out all the time, to figure it out and push through. But sometimes pushing through is going to hurt you the most, and it's not going to benefit you in the end. So, yeah, just not being afraid to ask for help. And it's okay to have that vulnerable moment and admit that, hey, I need some support right now, even if it is just getting some extra reps, or if it is getting some mental health support or other form of support as well.
Really love kind of the area that you were able to end that on. And again, can't thank you enough for number one, just sharing your journey with everybody, but also just being vulnerable and kind of sharing, more insights, especially on the mental health, mental performance, and even sports psychology world as well. I know it's such a great shift listening to your story as far as, hey, here's everything that I experienced, and here's how I can apply that now to the individuals and teams that I'm going to be working with. I think that's so awesome. And again, too, I'm looking forward, number one, just to seeing where your journey and your career takes you, because obviously you're going to do so many this awesome stuff in that field, and I can't wait to see your growth. But again, thank you so much for being a part of this short podcast. But again, thank you so much, Makenzie, for taking the time out of your day.